Hello again, everybody. I'm Chris. I'm all set to count down this week's 40 most played country records in the USA as they're compiled by Mediabase 24/7 for the week ending April 25th, 2026. Before I get started counting down this week's biggest hits, let's take a look back at last week's top three. Number 3 was What He'll Never Have by Dylan Scott. Number 2 was Sleepless in a Hotel Room by Luke Combs. And the number 1 song last week was Ain't a Bad Life by Thomas Rhett and Jordan Davis. Now, will Thomas and Jordan hang on to the number 1 spot again this week? Let's find out 39 hits from now. We'll get the countdown started with a brand new one from Blake Shelton's, the first of 2 debuts this week, coming in at number 40, called Let Him In It Anyway. It's 51st top 40 hit. Up a notch to number 39 is Chase Matthew with Holding It Down. At number 38, up a notch, is Steven Wilson Jr. with Gary. And here's this week's second debut, debuting at number 37. Their last time on the chart, they went to number 1 back in January of 2025 with Bigger Houses. This week, their 17th top 40 hit debuts. It's Dan and Shay with Say So. And with 2 debuts, we say goodbye to 2 droppers falling out this week. Time's ticking until the last one dies. On with the countdown, here's Shane Prophet up 2 spots to number 36 with Long Live Country. Up 2 to number 35 is Zach John King with Get the Drinkin'. At number 34, up a notch, here's Alexander Kay with Straight for the Heart. In his 7th week in the countdown, he's up a notch to 33, Graylin James with Water at a Wedding. At number 32, up a notch, Kelsey Hart with Fireworks. Up from their high point at number 26 last week, they're down to 31 this week. Nate Smith and Tyler Hubbard with After Midnight. In just his 2nd week on the countdown, he's up 6 notches to number 30. This week's biggest mover, it's Luke Bryan with Country and She Knows It. Up 2 spots to number 29, it's Lauren Elena and Chase Matthew with All My Exes. Up 2 to number 28, John Party with Boots Off. Up 5 notches to 27, Dustin Lynch with Easy to Love. In his 25th week in the countdown, he's up a notch to 26, John Morgan and Kid Myself. Up 4 notches to number 25, Zach Top with South of Sanity. At number 24, up a notch, Low Cash with Wrong Hearts. At number 23, up 5 notches, Kane Brown with Woman. Up 2 spots to 22, George Burge and Luke Bryan with Ride, Ride, Ride. At number 21, up 2 spots, Morgan Wallen and Don't We. At number 20, up a notch, in his 10th week on the countdown, it's Hardy, joined by Eric Church, Morgan Wallen, and Tim McGraw, called MacArthur. Up a notch to number 19, Bailey Zimmerman with Chevy Silverado. Holding steady at number 18, Vincent Mason with Wish You Well. Here's last week's number 1, tumbling to number 17, Thomas Rhett and Jordan Davis with Ain't a Bad Life. At number 16, up 3 notches, Jason Aldean with Don't Tell on Me. Up 2 spots to 15, Corey Kent and Cole Wetzel with Rocky Mountain Low. Up a notch this week to number 14, Morgan Wallen and Post Malone with I Ain't Coming Back. At number 13, up 3 spots, Josh Ross and Hate How You Look. Up 2 to number 12, Megan Maroney with Beautiful Things. And for a 2nd week at number 11, here's Chris Jansen with Me and a Beer. All right, down a notch to number 10, their former number 1, here's Shabuzi and Jelly Roll with Amen. Leaping 4 spots from 13 to number 9 this week, ranking up her 5th top 10 hit. It's Ella Langley with Be Her. At number 8, up 2 this week, Jordan Davis with Turn This Truck Around. At number 7 for the 2nd week, it's Riley Green with Change My Mind. Up 2 spots to number 6, Tucker Wetmore with Brunette. Inching up 1 to number 5, it's Cody Johnson with The Fall. Back up 1 to number 4 with her former number 1 hit, Ella Langley and Choosing Texas. In at number 3, up a notch this week, Luke Combs with Days Like These. Well, Luke is back-to-back this week, as he spends his 3rd week at number 2 with his other hit called Sleepless in a Hotel Room. And the number 1 song in country music this week, taking 42 weeks to get here, and this becomes his 7th number 1 hit. It's Dylan Scott with What He'll Never Have. And that is our countdown of the 40 most played country hits this week. Join me again next week. We'll count them down once again, and we'll find out who will have the number 1 song in country music. Thanks for listening.